Are you a buyer that's been hanging out on the fence because you keep hearing about multiple offers and you're thinking, there's no way I can compete against 2, 5, 17 other offers? Well, I'm here to give you some tips and tricks on how to compete when it's not a back and forth, just you and the seller conversation. My name is Katie McDaniel and I'm with Keller Williams Realty. I service the greater Louisville area and I help people when there are multiple offer situations. So, normally, there are things sellers need when they're selling. You're going to hear most of the time price is most important, but not always. Sometimes they want to sell their house as is. They really don't want to do any work on it. Maybe they need some delayed possession to make the transition from this house to the next house, or even they have a house that they need to find. They haven't even found it yet. So, first tip is make sure your agent talks to the listing agent. Make sure that they understand what is important to the seller so that you can structure your offer in a way that is most enticing to them. Once you know those things, this is going to be your greatest indicator on whether you're going to win in a multiple offer situation. And yes, usually price is the number one thing. I mean, we all want it. We need that money for one thing or the other, and getting the most out of our house is usually the most important. First tip, when you're shopping, don't shop at your max. Shop under so you have the ability to go up. It seems easy. And sometimes if you need closing costs, if you need them, definitely ask for them because you can get offers accepted in multiple offer situations with closing cost. However, if you're in the position to pay your own closing cost, that will definitely sweeten it for the seller. That is less money that is coming out of their pocket and more money going in. And if you're extra in the position, instead of not only paying your only closing cost, you can pay your seller's closing cost. So they're going to have transfer fees, they're going to have taxes, and some other expenses in there as well. And if you agree to pay those for them, more money in their pocket, the happier they're going to be. Down payment. Now, down payment, you need down payment assistance. That is totally okay. And if you're in a position to show you can put 10, 20% down or even more, that's going to show the seller that you're very financially secure and could edge you out over some other people. Loan type. So conventional. That's the one everybody loves the most. It has the least extra work to it. But don't be afraid if you have a FHA or VA or even a USDA loan to go in on a multiple offer situation. Maybe you can sweeten it in the other terms. Maybe the seller understands that FHA and VA are great products and USDA are great products and will not be shied away from them. However, cash is usually king, right? That is actually, it takes out a contingency because when you're cash, you're not contingent on securing the money because you already have it. If you find that you are losing a lot of offers, or maybe you just want to go in as strong as possible from the beginning, there are some lenders, this is my little secret, that can potentially turn your financing offer into a cash offer. If this is something you're interested in, let me know. I'll get you connected with the right people. Other ways, in your earnest money deposit, this is the money that's deposited only once your offer is accepted. And if you fall out for financing, for appraisal or inspections, you get that money back. But if just in the middle of the transaction you change your mind, the seller could potentially get that money. So you can see how maybe making this a higher amount, it's usually about 1%, sometimes less, but making it as strong as possible can entice your seller to take that offer. So price going as high as you're comfortable going. And maybe you want to know for sure that you're not paying way over the next closest offer. Well, you can do an escalation clause. So this is a way of negotiating when we can't do a back and forth negotiation, offer, counter offer, right? So we're going to give our bottom number and our top number. Just understand you're revealing your top number and whatever amount we agree to go over any other offer that comes in. So if you're going at $250 is your bottom, $275 is your top, they get an offer of $267, then your escalation clause would trigger you to pay $268. See how that works? And appraisal gap. So once offers start to get kind of high, sellers and listing agents can be really concerned on whether that house is going to be valued at that number. So going ahead and setting up the terms of what would happen if it doesn't in the contract can ease a lot of minds. So say we went up to our top, that 275. The appraisal only comes in at 265. In your offer, you agreed to pay a gap of $5,000. So you would be then buying that house for $270. You would have to make sure you're in the position to bring that extra money if you need it to. Another way to sweeten it financially is if you want to buy a home warranty, instead of asking the seller to pay for it, you pay for it. So as far as money goes, make sure you're shopping under your price point so you have the room to go up. If you're in a position not asking for closing costs, potentially paying the seller's closing cost, thinking about loan options, cash, financing, FHA, VA, USDA, having a nice size down payment if possible. Earnest money, maybe up that a little bit, see if that jazzes the seller. Escalation clause, if this is something you choose to use, please make sure this is something the seller and listing agent are open to, because if you send them one and they hate them or don't want them, they will not look at your offer. Appraisal gap, good tool, great to use. Just be aware if you're looking to sell in the next couple years, this may be something you definitely don't want to do. And not asking them for a home warranty. But as we know, money is usually way, but it is not always. Inspections. So during our inspection window, we can do a couple things to make that sweeter to the seller. The first is saying, hey, seller, we're going to still do our inspection, but we're not going to nitpick you on little things or maybe even big things if we're comfortable moving forward. So we're going to have somebody come in, we're going to check everything so that we know what we're taking on. And as long as all that comes back to something we can live with and we're happy with, we will agree to not ask you for any repairs and take your house as is. Another way to sweeten inspections, to show the seller you're serious, you're not going to poke all around. We want our answers and we want to know if we're moving forward with this house or not, is then shorten the window. The normal window you'll see is about 10 days, maybe 12, 14. But shorten that to like 7, 5. I've seen as little as 3 days. Let the seller know you're serious and you're going to get on with this. Keep your offer as clean as possible. So don't ask them to say like, hey, you got a big yard, you got a nice lawnmower, I'd love to have that. Or I don't want that playground that's in the backyard, I don't have kids. Instead of asking them to leave or take things, just keep it clean. Just keep it clean. And then delayed possession. So if this is something that the seller needs, this can be a very, very important term to them. And as long as you're okay closing on the house and allowing the seller to stay there a little bit longer, could be a couple days, couple weeks. I've had even longer just to make the offer work. As long as you're comfortable with this, and that is important to the seller because they either need to move, they need to find something else, or maybe their new house is not going to be ready to a certain time, is matching up your delayed possession or even closing time frame to what the seller needs. So there are many ways that you can sweeten your offer to make it work for the seller. The most important thing is that you're matching up the terms that are most important to them. And once your offer is accepted, that you are willing to live with and move forward and buy the house. So you heard that little tidbit about turning your financing into cash. Maybe that's something you're intrigued by. Give me a call. Let's talk.